If you're worried that electrification spells extinction for internal combustion, the Empty Garage kindly directs your attention to Ford and its F-150 pickup truck. Fun fact, the base engine in a new F-150 puts down 325 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. That's just what happens when you strap a pair of turbochargers to an otherwise pedestrian 2.7-liter V6. Need more juice? How about a 3.5-liter unit that turns output up to an even 400 ponies and 500 torques? For the "it ain't a pickup if there ain't a V8 in it" folks, Ford offers the classic 400-horse 5.0-liter Coyote V8. But let's say you're just a lunatic that still wants more. For some, there is the high-output variant of the 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 that sends 450 horsepower and 510 earth-shuddering torques to the wheels. Unimpressed? Okay, well, how about a supercharged 5.2-liter V8 that cranks up the party to 700 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque? This, friends, is what Ford stuffs under the power-domed hood of the absolutely insane Raptor R. It's a return to form in some respects, as the OG Raptor supported a V8 power plant, but the 2023 Raptor R generates more than twice as much horsepower as the original 5.4-liter V8-powered SVT Raptor could muster. So, to reiterate our original point, fear not, fellow worshippers of spark plugs, pistons, gasoline, and power. Ford's Raptor R is proof that, contrary to its prehistoric name, internal combustion isn't dead yet. But before we go any further, please take a moment to click the subscribe button so the Empty Garage can continue delivering its unique brand of automotive experience. Released in 2023, the Raptor R makes a whopping 250 more horsepower than the standard Raptor. Certainly, 2 extra cylinders and 1.7 extra liters of displacement help, but there's a whole lot more here than meets the eye. Ford starts with the 5.2-liter Predator V8 from the previous Shelby GT500 monster Mustang that made 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. Then the wizards at Ford Performance get to work on their special blend of automotive black magic. The Shelby GT500 is intended to clip apexes on buttery smooth ribbons of asphalt at triple-digit speeds, but the Raptor R is designed to cause involuntary outbursts of expletives and soiled trousers by blasting across sand dunes and launching its 3-ton heft through the air with sweet jumps. To accomplish all this, the supercharger gets recalibrated and fitted with a small diameter pulley. Ford says the idea here is to increase torque delivery at the low and mid-range for more performance at speeds that consumers will be using. That translates to 640 pound-feet of torque at 4,250 RPM versus 625 torques at 5,000 RPM that the GT500 was good for. To us average, non-engineering types, that means the boost gets boosted faster and the torque curve gets fatter, so we can fling dirt and sand at the drop of a hat. In the interest of ramming more air down the gullet of the Raptorized Predator, Ford widened the intake inlet and fitted a higher flow conical air filter. The result? 66% more volume. During development, it was discovered that the intake plumbing was distorting due to this overwhelming crush of air. It must be said, that's pretty radical and something us here at the Empty Garage would have loved to see in testing. But of course, such madness would not work for production, and as such, Ford reinforced the intake ductwork. More upgrades come in the form of a new cast stainless steel exhaust manifold and a deeper oil pan to make light work of steep grades. Other nerd highlights include a cast aluminum block and heads with plasma transfer wire arc cylinder liners and forged aluminum pistons. I'm getting all giddy just saying it out loud, but don't worry, we've got more. Ford's garden variety 10-speed automatic transmission was calibrated for Raptor R duty and features a specifically tuned torque converter with a heavy-duty turbine dampener and 4-pinion rear output assemblies. A unique, larger diameter aluminum drive shaft transfers all that Predator power to the wheels, and a new front axle sports a higher strength carrier casting and aluminum rib structural cover to manage all that torque. If you're not sure what any of that means, allow us to distill it for you. The Ford Raptor R is the most outrageous pickup truck ever created. Yeah, we hear you, fans of the TRX, and we'll get to you in a moment, but you're not going to like what we have to say, because it will mostly mirror Ford's statements that this R variant is, quote, the fastest, most powerful, most extreme high-performance off-road desert Raptor yet. Before you and your Raptor R get to rooster tailing as much sand as you can on a full tank of gas, which won't last very long, you will need to start her up and hit the road. We bring this up because this mighty Raptor is packing an exclusive dual exhaust system with pass-through mufflers, an active valve system, and a pair of 4-inch cannons poking out from under the rear bumper. The modes for this exhaust include normal, which sounds lame, sport for a nice bark, Baja for when you want to give other drivers heart palpitations, and quiet. Now you may think a quiet mode stands for everything that the Raptor R is not. However, if you don't want to scare the piss out of the neighborhood and scare the pants off the children every time you head for the great wide open, keep it in mind, especially considering the R registers an ear-splitting 83 decibels at full whack. Assuming you've made it to your outdoor playground of choice in one piece because 3-ton, 700-horse monster truck, it's time to put the Raptor R's mighty chassis to work. The stats read like a 5-star football recruiter's hot sheet. Electronically controlled, continuously variable compression dampening Fox Racing Live valve shocks with 1-inch diameter rods and 3.1-inch dampeners. A 5-link rear end with extra long trailing arms, a panhard rod, and 24-inch coil springs. 5% stiffer front springs, 13 inches of suspension travel up front and 14.1 inches out back, 37-inch BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain rubber wrapping 17-inch B-lock capable wheels, and a 50-foot turning circle. Okay, the turning circle stat isn't really relevant here, but it's worth noting for its sheer absurdity. For reference, a Honda Civic has a 19-foot or so turning circle. Maybe it's just Ford's way of reinforcing that the Raptor R wants to show you its inner Baja 1000 trophy truck, not go shopping downtown. Which you may want to keep in mind as the R is exactly 8 feet wide. That doesn't leave a whole lot of room on a typical 10-foot wide local road. And to that end, maybe you should buy yourself a Civic for running errands as it measures less than 6 feet wide. Of course, with a hair over 13 inches of ground clearance, you could just drive over anything in your way with the Raptor R. It's one more metric to reinforce that the Raptor R is most at home in big open spaces. On that point, all Rs come with trail control, which is akin to off-road cruise control, Trail 1 pedal drive, which enables single pedal throttle control for when the going gets extremely rocky, and trail turn assist. That latter system would come in mighty handy in the supermarket parking lot as it can apply the brakes to the inside rear wheel and shrink the turning circle. Pity it's only intended for use on slippery or loose surfaces. Makes you wonder if the Raptor R is supposed to be playing in the dirt. #rhetorical. An interesting aspect of piloting the R in off-road environments is that the rear locking differential cannot be engaged in two-wheel drive. Why does that matter? Well, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you want to see what'll happen when you mat the throttle without four-wheel drive engaged while riding around your local mountain of sand. Not that the empty garage would ever want to do such a juvenile thing, but just for pretend. Well, in that case, a brake-based limited slip system would kick in that gives the brake pads a squeeze on a wheel, experiencing a sharp increase in speed, thereby pushing more power to the other side. As a result, rooster-tailing shenanigans in the soft stuff gives the rear brakes a serious workout. So serious that you can watch the rear rotors glow red. Hey Dad, are the brakes on fire? Though Ford is happy to let the rear rotors get all crispy, it has other plans for the fronts. Rather than employ a launch control system for the Raptor R, which is all the rage these days with factory hot rods, Ford has a far less sexily named auto hold feature for stoplight racing. Oh, what? You thought the hottest of hot Raptors was limited to the dirt and sand? It probably should be, given the obscene amount of power and giant wobbly tires, but how many of you watching think that Raptor R owners won't be testing their inner Big Daddy Don Garlits at every red light in town? Go ahead, raise your hands, we'll wait. Yeah, neither do we. But if you were hoping this activity would require an unholy level of braking torque, you'd be wrong. In fact, if the vehicle computers detect any amount of brake pressure, the engine will be instructed to holster these horsies and reduce the level of torque being sent through the driveline. Instead, simply set the Raptor R to sport mode, turn on the auto hold feature, and stand on the gas pedal. No fancy software, no clenching of the jaw hoping the brakes will hold, just punch it and go. Ford said this is intended to prevent the front brakes from being overwhelmed. Seems reasonable. And who cares about the why when the what is a 3.6-second rocket ride to 60 miles an hour from idle? That is stupid fast for a truck this big and also awesome. And remember that we said we'd get to the Ram TRX fans? Well, the Raptor R is in fact faster by 1/10 of a second than the Ram TRX can manage in the 60-mile-per-hour test, according to Car and Driver. Well, how is that possible, you say? The TRX has exactly 2 more horsepower and 10 more pound-feet of twist than the R. Physics, folks. The cartoonishly huge Ram TRX weighs more than 6,800 pounds versus the Raptor R that comes in under 6,100 pounds. Part of that 700-plus pound weight advantage comes from the use of an aluminum block in the Ford versus a cast iron lump in the Ram. This translates to about 8.7 pounds per horsepower for the Raptor R and 9.8 for the TR Piggy. And part of it can just be chalked up to the magically delicious wonder of Ford's engineering wizards. No matter the reason, there's definitely no arguing that the 2023 Ford Raptor R is one badass truck that proves internal combustion isn't extinct yet.